Hi friends, today we are gonna talk about the topic of history that has been my greatest passion since decades. The topic which got me interested in history in the first place. You can say I've reserved the best for last. Want to talk about today to you about the World War II. Now there are umpteen books on the World War II. I myself have read hundreds and hundreds of them. I started this search when I was in 13 years of age, all through my school life, my college life, and close to 2 decades after that. I have read books after books, any book, everywhere that I could find on it. When the bookstores had exhausted, I tried to search any other place possible, which would give me more books on the World War II. So I today could probably talk about 5 best World War II books. Okay, but let's try to see what kind of books are there on World War II. There are books that talk about particular areas like German invasion of Russia or the invasion of France. There are books that talk about the human tragedy like the killing of Jews. There are books that are about Adolf Hitler, the person. Now, the books that I have found most interesting is about the people and the psyche of the people who determined the course of the World War II. And I want to start from there. In the Nazi party, and when we say the word Nazi, and when we talk about the Germans, the personality of Adolf Hitler is so big. He is like this demonic supervillain that there are books after books after books written about him. And people have endless discussions on them. It is so prominent that his right-hand men find very little mention, except in scholarly works. And that is what I want to talk about today. You see, even if you look at a superhero kind of a comic, a villain is exciting to me and I'm sure to most only if he has this, bunch of equally powerful or demonic henchmen. So let's talk about them. Let's talk about the men who were the support of Adolf Hitler. Okay, there I could talk about the Nazi army, the German army, and the German, generals. But I want to stick to the men that Hitler really considered his followers. There are many among them, and some of them, like Albert Speer, has written a book also of his own autobiography. But 3 among them are most famous. And they are indeed, had they not been Hitler's right-hand men, been so uniquely dictatorial, you can say unique in their own right, that books would have written about them, had they ruled a country of their own. These are, at least 3 of them are so prominent in their quirkiness, in their power that they once occupied, that they would have found much more mention had they not been overshadowed by the supreme personality of Hitler. Let's talk about them. The book that I want to talk about is called The Devil's Disciples, and it has 3 sections about 3 people, all of whom could be considered Hitler's closest friends. The first among them is a man called Goering. Goering was the official number 2 of Adolf Hitler, the man who was an ace fighter in the World War I and one of the early supporters of Adolf Hitler. The man who officially had the roles and responsibilities ranging from the economy to the Air Force, etc., and officially designated by Hitler to take over as the dictator if anything ever happened to him. This man was very interesting, extremely interesting in his own right. For example, this was one man who was not too ideological. He only believed in victory and Germany and his own power. If and all there were a lot of ifs in between because the Allies were trying to do it. The Allies were not disposed to having any peace with Hitler, but they could have made some truck with Goering. If ever the Allies could have gotten rid of Hitler in an assassination or something, they would have been very happy to have peace with Goering because Goering did not have all those ideological things. I mean, yes, there are some accounts of him also being complicit in the murder of Jews and all, but by and large, he was not as ideological as the others. So he was one man with whom they could have done business. On a personal front, this man, who was once considered an extremely handsome ace pilot, during his years in powers with Hitler, grew extremely fat. Okay? And he famously said that if even a bum falls on Berlin, call me a pig. And because of his size and his weight, when bombs fell on Berlin, there were hidden secret jokes around saying, "Where is the pig now?" The other interesting fact about him is he's supposed to have stolen many arts and treasures, and he always was looking to make some money out of it and steal art treasures. Finally, when he was brought to justice in the Nuremberg trials, and he was very shocked at the food given to him, and he said that my dogs eat better food. He rapidly lost weight, became extremely thin. He was very shocked that he was given the death sentence. Okay, because he thought he had made a very logical case, for himself at least. The interesting part is this. It seems he got someone to smuggle him some cigars, which were poisonous. And the night before his hanging, he had a poisonous cigar and died, almost mocking his captors on the last day before his death. Goering eluded them in death too. He was that kind of a smartass. The other man is probably the most famous of them, these three, because one of his lines is repeatedly told by political circles. That man is called Goebbels. He was the propaganda minister. The first time you would have probably heard that there was somebody called a propaganda minister. And till date, one of his lies, that a lie told 1,000 times becomes a truth, is used repeatedly by political parties on the other person. And often you find political parties from America to India saying, to their opponent of course, this man speaks like Goebbels. Goebbels is so often quoted that after Hitler, I think the only Nazi that all other today's politicians know is Goebbels. Because they keep saying, every time some political party comes out with some pamphlet or comes out with some propaganda stuff, the other party says, look, he's talking like Goebbels. That was what Goebbels was. Goebbels sold Hitler. Goebbels sold Hitler to the German people. Goebbels sold Hitler to the world. And Goebbels showed the world what propaganda can do. He was the master propagandist. This man so firmly believed in his own propaganda about Hitler that when the day Hitler died, one of the only top people left with him was Goebbels. Goebbels poisoned his wife and his 6 children before killing himself because he said he cannot dream of living in a world where his Führer is not there. That was the level of his passion. Finally, the third of the Trioca, the man called Himmler, a man who was a headmaster before he joined the Nazi party, who loved children, who was extremely fond of Hindu scriptures, who could recite the Gita by heart, who had studied the Upanishads extremely in detail, who conducted enough research on this whole Aryan connection. He was fascinated by it. He was also the man who was the most feared in the whole Europe, in the whole German captured lands, probably more than Hitler too. It was he who ran the dreaded SS, who could capture anybody and kill them or send them to concentration camps. It was his organization was responsible for the killing of the Jews. It was he who methodically went about massacring Jews, Poles, Russians, everybody. And he justified all of this in some form of spirituality, saying it was his karmic duty. If you look at his face and you look at him looking at the corpulent Goebbels or, the famous Hitler, everybody knows Hitler, and then you see this one small guy, bespectacled guy, mouse kind of a face, very small, tiny man, you would not believe that it is he who every Jew feared. It is he who sent shivers down people's spines from France to Russia. It was this man whose organizations dug out dirty secrets of everybody from the German army to the Nazi party. So everybody feared him and his organization. He could make or break lives and careers. And it is he who has to be firmly blamed for all the dirtiest crap that happened in the Nazi party. And yet, you wonder, it is he who was a schoolmaster. It was he who has the most knowledge of spirituality in the Nazi party. These is the three most famous people who were there with Hitler till the end. Himmler also, in the end, was captured by the Allies and killed. But, if you ever get bored of just reading about Hitler and you want to read about more diabolical characters, I can tell you, you would not find three more suited candidates. Thank you.